Welcome to day 10 tournament in a TeaBreak. Sadly, no Chris Otto with us, but I have
Mert Ertunga.
Hurrah! So Mert's very kindly stepped into Chris's stylish but affordable shoes.
No, I don't know if I can match that up, but I will try.
So, well, we've just come off the end of a pretty miraculous turnaround in terms of weather. The weather really closed in like biblical rain.
Yes.
It
At
was
one point, I thought we were in the southern United States, where there was a dark cloud on the left, sun peeking in, and then some rumblings in the back. Because that's how the weather works. That's how it'll rain 10 minutes and it'll be sunshine next 20 minutes. But
by some miracle, they got Marketa Vondrousova and Petra Martic onto the court. They've just finished, but there's a lot to talk about before we get to that match. The first one, of course, being Jo Konta soundly beat.
Spectacular performance.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Sloane, to my mind, looked very flat from the start. We're accustomed to seeing slow starts from Sloane, so that's not in itself an issue. But there just seemed to be a complete lack of movement from Sloane. Jo really didn't have to do much to get her winners in. It was a great, controlled, aggressive performance. When Jo's serve is firing, everything else in her game falls into place, and it was that kind of a day today.
Yes, I agree, and in fact, I'll take it a step further. You're right, Sloane is a slow starter, and that was very apparent in her match against Muguruza, but she was able to turn that around. On the other hand, Jo never gave her a chance to turn the match around. One thing that Jo does is she does this 1-2 punch on the return and on the serve. And she does it in an awkward way, because most players will hit that big serve and then they'll run around and hit that big forehand to finish the point. Jo does that on the backhand side. So when she can get that wide serve on the deuce side and push Sloane to her wide forehand side where she has to go outside the court, when Sloane hits that return, it falls perfectly in line with Jo's backhand to hit it to the open corner. In fact, at the 1-1 game in the first set, if people want to look up what I'm talking about, she wins the first, third, and fifth points exactly the same way. It's almost like a replay. She serves that wide serve, Sloane Stephens returns it, and she hits it away with that backhand to the open corner.
Yeah, and normally Sloane Stephens has such a good read of the game. She just seemed to be at 6s and 7s today. There was no reading of the game. There was no anticipation of, because what Jo does is do patterns very well, and people have sussed her game out. And this is the problem, that she's had to add variety because people have sussed out that she has these repetitive patterns of play.
Speaking of which, well, let's get into that very quickly, because you are right. And on top of that, she was playing against the player in the WTA who probably has the best sense of anticipation.
Correct.
She gets, because Sloane Stephens is not necessarily super speedy person. She's just incredible. She's the great anticipator. So it looks to you like she's incredibly quick too, which she is. But her anticipation is what makes up for any lack of quick direction changes. But what happened is, if you watch that stretch, Ross, when Jo broke in the second set and went up 3-1, normally if you're the losing player, you say to yourself, okay, I have 3 chances to break before this match ends. In fact, Sloane held serve to get to 3-2, and that was the best game she played. And if you watch, when she walks to the game change, she pumps up her fist, her mother's screaming, she's whistle blown, and there's this very positive look in Sloane, thinking I'm into this match now, even though I'm behind the break. And then guess what Jo does the next 3 service games? At 3-2, 4-3, and 5-4. She wins 12 out of 13 points. The only point she loses is on a double fault. She hits 8 clean winners, and those winners are either drop shots, backhand down the lines, aces, return winners. So you're talking about variety in terms of finishing the point. She did it. Yeah,
well, talking about drop shots, we've just seen a remarkable match between Marketa Vondrousova and Petra Martic. Just the variety on display, the rallies, the cat and mouse. It was like watching a game of chess. Now you're talking about drop shots, and after that double-header day in Rome when everything was rained off, Vondrousova actually was being out drop-shotted by Jo. And for those of us that have been watching Jo add her drop shots to her repertoire, they have been the stuff of nightmares at times. We have hidden behind sofas, we've hidden behind cushions, because when she does that drop shot, it's almost reminiscent of Murray when he was tired and would do the drop shots. And I always likened it to a cross between watching Jaws and Towering Inferno. You'd be like, no, don't do that, too late. And, Konta out drop-shotted a very tired, admittedly, Vondrousova. Now, I don't think that Vondrousova is going to be anywhere near as tired, but this is a corking
There's adrenaline
semi.
in question now.
My goodness, this is going to be a real test of wills.
Yes.
I think this is going to be, Jo's aggressive, trying to dominate from the baseline and trying to limit how much she does come in. Because, God love her, she does have hands of stone at the net sometimes. But I think Vondrousova is going to test her to the limit.
Yes.
And I think if this is going to go Jo's way, it's going to be on guts, glory, and sheer experience to get her over the line.
Yeah, no, you touched on the main points. In terms of just game matchup, I would add that the bigger challenge with Vondrousova is she gives you 3 or 4 different looks in the same point. She has a forehand, a lefty forehand that she can loop as a high top spin, or that she can accelerate but never really hit flat. But on the backhand, then if you hit it to her backhand, then you get a completely flat ball back. And then once in a while she'll stick in that nifty drop shot, or even an inside out backhand slice with her left hand, which curves the ball towards the outside if she hits it down the line. So Jo is going to face a big challenge in terms of a variety of shots that she has to face. As tough a player as Sloane Stephens is, Sloane did not give Jo this many different looks, in terms of spin and pace.
No, exactly. Let's quickly move to the men. Again, the match, I think, of the day from the men's side had to be Federer-Wawrinka. Again, a little bit cat and mousey for me. The first 2 sets split, and then Federer just pulled away. I think the rain delay, people hoped that it was going to give Wawrinka a little source of life.
It turned the other way, right?
Yeah, even in that last couple of games, Wawrinka, I mean, God, give him credit, he was fighting all the way. But we, of course, have Federer and Nadal as a semi-final. Now, I've always said that if it came down to this as a semi, it would be a test for Nadal, but Nadal and Federer on this clay is a nightmare matchup.
Yes, it is.
Tell me why.
Would you like to first? Do you want to speak about the Wawrinka match at all, or do we move straight into?
Let's move straight.
Let's move right on.
Let's leave Wawrinka.
Well, there's no secret here how the two of them will play against each other. Nadal, for throughout their rivalry, relied on 2 things: rallies to Federer's backhand, working his high backhand, and hitting that serve to Federer's backhand so that he can get maybe a slice return or a defensive return with which he can dominate the rest of the point. Now, Federer was able to turn one of those things around since 2015, which is the return. In fact, when Federer, out of the last 5 matches that Federer beat Nadal, the first one in Basel, he returned 81 times on his backhand, because that's where Nadal serves consistently. 79 times he came over the top of those backhand returns. Only twice did he slice them. That was the biggest change at that point. And since then, he's been sticking with this or come over the top return on the backhand. So he took away one advantage of Nadal that way. Now, will he be able to do that on clay? We'll see. But I'm willing to bet that he's not going to slice his returns back. So he's going to try to play one-strike tennis. Whenever he gets that forehand, he's going to try to go for it. But let me just add one thing about Federer from a mental standpoint. If he were to miraculously win the tournament, I'm not talking about just against Rafa.
Yeah.
He would be beating the last 3 French Open champions. I'm looking at it from the way Federer is thinking, because I don't think Roger is going to go out there thinking I'm going to lose. I think he goes out there thinking so he's going to have beaten Wawrinka, Nadal, and possibly, unless team beats him, possibly Djokovic. That would be the last 3 French Open champions. I don't think anybody for the rest of his life can criticize Federer in any way possible if he were to accomplish this feat.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, okay, maybe we were a little unfair. Let's have a thought for Wawrinka, who's come back from injury. I mean, his run here has got to be a dream run for him, surely.
For me, the biggest victory today for Wawrinka was when in the press conference they asked him about how's your knee, and he said, my knee's fine. I'm going to get ready for grass court. It's gone. My knee's okay now. I just have to get mentally back into the groove. Mentally, I'm getting stronger, but physically, my knee is fine. No problem. And to me, that was the biggest yes moment if you're a Wawrinka fan, which I am. I'm a Wawrinka fan. I think all of us are.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, his fight and his determination in the last 3 matches has been second to none, and it's great to see him back. I think the tour needs it.
And wouldn't you say that in his form that he showed in this tournament, he could possibly challenge the big 3 at tournaments?
Yes, I absolutely do. Yeah. I mean, I've joked about it in the past, but sort of like we could live in an age where Wawrinka overtakes Murray in terms of slams, but I absolutely think he can.
Yes.
I absolutely believe he can.
Now, granted, having said all that, if we were to be realistic, we're still looking at a Novak-Rafa final on Sunday. That's just, there's no way getting around that.
No.
It would have to be something close to miraculous to have not those 2 in the finals on Sunday.
Understand. Well, talking of tomorrow, we have Halep on Chatrier. We have Halep and Anisimova, and we have Djokovic and Zverev. Halep and Anisimova is going to be interesting. I sat and had a drink actually with my colleagues from Romania who are just, if you're wondering what all that loud chatter is, it's them. I think deep down they think it could be a Halep Konta final. Anisimova is another player 10 years younger than Halep. She's had like teenagers galore. She gave Iga Swiatek a complete lesson, a tennis lesson for free.
Yes.
Do you think she's going to do the same with Anisimova?
I think it will be a similar story. I don't know if it'll be 6-1, 6-0, but I think where things may go wrong for Anisimova is Simona's ability to hit down the line accelerations, because Anisimova takes the ball early. Right. She takes the ball extremely early, and players who take the ball early usually like to park inside the baseline, and they like cross-court balls because then they can step in and cut the angle off and hit it. Whereas Simona's strongest weapon is her ability to generate accelerations going down the line, even when she's on the run from both sides, especially on the backhand. I think if that pattern, if Anisimova can somehow find a solution to that pattern, handling Simona's down the line accelerations, then yes, it'll be a close battle. But otherwise, my initial assessment is that it will be a straight set victory for Simona.
Okay, and then Djokovic, Zverev. I'm sorry, but I just think that in the form that Zverev has been in, he hasn't got a hope in hell. He might take a set off Djokovic, but...
Well, maybe not. He may not even take a set off of Djokovic. The problem for Zverev in this matchup that I see, and I actually believe that Zverev in this major has performed better than other majors. I'm not talking about Masters. I'm not talking about Masters. He plays very well there. But he, in terms of mental toughness, he's performed better in this major than other majors. But if you were to go player A against player B, you look at each one of their strokes, each one of their patterns. Djokovic does every single thing a little bit better than Zverev. And when you have somebody doing everything a little bit better than you, even if they're not that far ahead in every little thing, but they are a little bit better, then it ends up being in a rout sometimes, and that's what I fear for Zverev.
Yeah. No, I agree. Djokovic to go through there. On the other side, in Longlen, we have Madison Keys versus Ash Barty. Keys has been superbly under the radar. Nobody's really even paid her any attention.
It's true. It's a little bit like Kachanov on the men's side, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Keys, who's a ball striker.
Yeah.
And finally, she I believe she has mentioned in one of her presses. That's why I'm kind of stuttering, because I'm trying to remember. But that on clay, sometimes the fact that the ball jumps high favors her strokes. So I believe she has mentioned that, and that's actually a good point, because her favorite spot, her sweet spot, or where she likes to hit balls, is more hip level or a little bit higher. So clay might suit her, but then again, she's playing against another player who's got every shot in the book.
Yeah, I
You know,
mean, that's it.
Will Barty give her that ball? Probably not.
Yeah, that's it for me. But Barty's got so much more variety, and whilst I love Keys, I see this as Barty's. 100%.
Yeah, I completely understand why you would feel that way. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time picking one or the other. But yes, if Barty plays or uses all her shots, Keys is going to have trouble.
And let's close off today with Team and Khachanov. You just, as you said, he's just, people will be like, hey, Khacha who now what?
Well, I'm ashamed to say myself that I fell in that trap. Believe it or not,
No.
I've only watched about 2.5 sets of Khachanov this whole tournament, and now I feel so ashamed of that I'm planning on coming tomorrow morning early and watching a replay of a couple of his sets that I haven't seen from his earlier matches, so that by the time 2:00 comes around, I have a little bit of a better idea. I know how he plays,
Yeah.
but I've only watched the 2.5 sets. I've only watched 2.5 sets in this tournament. And but he's again this surface favors him because of his extreme grip on the forehand. Once again, a ball bouncing high is a good sign for him, so he doesn't have to get under the ball with that extreme western grip. The question for Khachanov is can he outpower his opponent?
Yeah.
And he's playing against another player who usually outpowers his opponents.
And also, we've discussed it before. Team's fitness is his superpower here. Whilst I've chided him for taking the scenic route and a few four-setters, if there's any player that actually feeds off that extra ball and that extra time, it's Team.
Yes, and
So-
he played a very good match against Monfils. His confidence must be skyrocketing. He said it himself anyway.
Well, we were going to have a sort of a little treat of a chat from our perspective of what we little tiny sites need to do to
Yes.
earn our crust at Slam. But unfortunately, Vondrusova is coming into press in about 10 minutes, and I've got to go to do that. But that's something that maybe over the next few days, Mert and I will do a separate little tournament in a TeaBreak and give it the time that it deserves. But we thought it might be interesting to sort of lay out for you exactly what it's like. I met up with somebody that's done a bit of writing for us. His first Slam doing some like media office work. And I sat down and I was like, oh, how's it going? And he was just like, oh, it's so hard doing a Slam.
He's
And I thought,
exhausted.
yeah, and he's coming in at 12 and leaving at 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
I was coming in at 8 and leaving at 10:30, getting back to my apartment and working till midnight and then up again at 6. So, when people say, oh, how the hell do you get into a Slam? Or when, unfortunately, there are people that love to criticise smaller sites that are here because we don't have the power of advertising. We don't have the power of, hundreds of thousands of people clicking on our stuff. I say that though, I mean, we're at 1/3 unique hits, so what do I get? But, but that comes with a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I thought it might be fun, and I think we will give it its own time.
Yes, it does, and you summarized it very well. I mean, I haven't gotten out of here one time before 11 o'clock so far. Dinner is just a rush all the time, or lunch is a rush. I skip one of them actually every day. So
and it might sound, oh, poor you skip your lunch. Oh, poor you skip your dinner. But actually, I mean, for me, I'm diabetic, so skipping lunch or dinner isn't an option because I have medication that is linked around that. My blood sugar levels will plummet if I don't eat at a regular time. So what we will do is we'll give it the time that it deserves and run through some of the things that Tennis with an Accent, which is one of the sites that Mert is heavily involved with, and of course Britwatch Sports, how we've actually managed to sort of keep our head above water. And just as a sort of reminder to those that think that it's easy and that they should be here, sure, if you have the results and if you have the numbers to back it up and if you have the content, more importantly, to back it up, then absolutely right, you should be here. But if you don't have any of that stuff, then Slams are not going to give you the time of day because what they want is for you to generate content to promote their Slam.
For
Right.
sure. For sure. You said it so well that I have nothing to add. It's everybody has to do their part, and if you have to deserve to be at a Slam, and therefore your writing must reflect that, and your effort must reflect that.
Yes, that's the thing. Your effort must reflect that. This young kid was like, "Oh, just remember, you're a human." And it's like, yes, but I'm a human covering the first few days of a slam. Anyway, we will get into this, but for now, we're going to bid you farewell. It's another corker of a day, as we will find out who our final four are all together. Thank you for listening. You have, of course, been listening to Ros Satar
And Mert Ertunga.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.